Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Ashraf Sial, and you are watching the YouTube channel The Literary Desk by Ashraf Sial. Dear friends, in this video, I will let you know about literature. That what does the word literature means, how we can define literature, and how one can understand, analyze, and study different genres of literature. So let's get started. As on the given slide, you can see that there has been written a line that shows defining literature is the most difficult task. Why it is so complicated and difficult? Because it is a multidisciplinary field of study, and it includes a variety of content. As you can read on the given slides, that no encyclopedia or any other book provides a true definition of literature. There is vagueness of its usage and the terms that define literature. It means that there is no clear definition of literature. Every person describes it according to his own perspective. In most of the cases, literature referred to as the completeness of written expression, with restrictions that not every written document can be categorized as literature. Therefore, the definitions include additional adjectives such as aesthetics or artistic in order to distinguish between literary works and text. It means that you can classify those pieces of writings as a part of literature which may have aesthetic sense, which have artistic expression. Therefore, one have to be careful while studying literature or while reading any other piece of writing. Let's go to our next slide. Definitions of literature. If I talk about the definitions, I have mentioned a variety of definitions on the given screen. Among many definitions of the term literature, the following may serve the purpose here. Some critics say that literature is the personal use of language. Common people use language as they find it, while intelligent man uses it according to his own peculiarities. It means that a person who is fond of reading literature, he may perceive it according to the language which he keeps. Now, if I talk about the definitions of literature, a famous English writer, Oscar Wilde, says that literature always anticipates life. It does not copy it, but molds it to its purpose. It means that literature has a huge contribution to the life of individuals as well. While Ezra Pound says about literature that literature is news that stays news. Very interesting. She considered literature as a news, like it may be fiction or it may be a reality, and she considers that it always stays as a news because we perceive things according to our own perceptions, and sometimes it may refer to the reality and sometimes it doesn't mean to a reality. So here is another critic, Goethe, who defines literature as it is art is a step taken by nature towards eternity. He declares literature as an art. And while another critic says about literature that literature must voice the past, reflect the present, and mold the future. He says that literature is a thing that reflects someone's past and reflects the present and have future perception as well. According to Emerson, all art is the expression of literary forms of truth and beauty. While S.T. Coleridge, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, a romantic poet, says about literature that in every work of art there is reconcilement of external with eternal. He says that there is always a connection between the external and internal and external world. So let's talk about the birth of literature. I have given a brief introduction of literature and given a variety of definitions for you people to understand. If you find any difficulty or if you have any query about this, you may ask in the comment section. If I talk about birth of literature, there is no specific date regarding the birth of literature. As you can see on the screen, that birth of literature, there is no specific date on which literature took its birth. It is very difficult to describe the historical development of literature because it did not have even pace across the world. Thus, a uniform global history of literature cannot be compiled due to following reasons. There have been mentioned some reasons why we don't have a clear history of literature, and these points are given as many texts have been lost either deliberately or for any reason. Like today we have a variety of sources to compile literature in the form of books, in the form of notes, in the form of literary genres like movies, dramas, etc. And in the past there have been no source to preserve the literary text. And if I talk about second line, there was no proper way of compiling and preserving the literature, while many key texts have been lost and burned to ashes forever. There have been some other reasons also. Much of the work were in neat written form. There were some primary texts which were isolated, as we have an epic poem Beowulf that is dated back to ancient times. And the other reasons are the destruction of the library of Alexandria in the 3rd century BC also contributed a lot. So these were the reasons which contributed, and we don't have a clear history or a clear birth of literature, that when it was started. If I talk about the importance of literature, literature is the most important genre, or you can say the most important field. Literature is important in everyday life as it connects individual with larger truths and ideas in the society. Literature creates a way for people to recognize their thoughts and experiences in a way that is accessible to others. Academically, if I talk about literature, it is like studying literature also helps us to refine our own writing skills and expand our vocabularies. By reading these lines, we can perceive that why literature has an important role in our life. There have been some points as given in the bullets. Literature is the art of discovering something extraordinary about ordinary people and saying with ordinary words something extraordinary. Very interesting. These lines have an irony among its words. And if I talk about the second point, every man's memory is his private literature. You may include these words or these bullets in your notes making. It will be very helpful for you people. Literature, however, can be said to the mirror of life because it reflects and comments on the aspects of things people encounter in their lives. Okay. Now we have our next slide, literature in general, that how we can define literature in our general terms. Literature is one of the fine arts like music, dance, painting, sculpture, and much more, as it is meant to give aesthetic pleasure. As I have mentioned, arts, music, dance, and painting. These are the sources to give us aesthetic pleasure. And when we will define literature, we should have to bear in our mind that the things that have an aesthetic pleasure, these are the main, or you can say the core elements of literature. Okay, and the things that cannot give aesthetic pleasure are not meant to be a part of literature. Literature refers to the verbal art which must have aesthetic essence. When we say that the book is not literature, we generally mean that it has no aesthetic worth, as I have just described the theme of this paragraph in my earlier words. Literature is a body of written works. The same name has traditionally been applied to imaginative works of poetry, prose, distinguished by the intentions of their authors and perceived aesthetic excellence of their execution. The whole theme of this paragraph or this slide is that the things that have an aesthetic sense are meant to be a part of literature, while the things that do not reflect aesthetic sense are not meant to be a part of literature. Literature can also be defined as all the writing belongings to one language or culture. If I talk about a civilization, I will study its culture and language, and culture and language are the two main sources of literature of any of the civilization. And the last bullet reflects about literature, that literature can be classified according to a variety of systems, including language, national origin, historical period, genre, and subject matter. These are the key elements to study the literature. If one have to learn the literature of any of the civilization, he must have to focus on the given domains. Here we have in our next slide critical lens, that what critics says about literature. According to Aristotle, literature is the art of imitation. Imitation means copying one thing. In his book, The Poetics, the masterpiece of Aristotle, in his book, he discusses and says he discusses the ways in which literature imitates reality and how this imitation can be used to create powerful emotional experience for the reader or audience. And here we have an other critic, Newman. He says that literature is the expression of human thoughts and feelings through language and words. In short, literature means the representation of life through text, writing in verse or prose of high brilliance which have strong personal expressions. These elements should be considered while reading or while understanding the literature. Here we have in our next slide, and it reflects the key genres or types of literature. We have basically two types of literature in our studies. The first one is applied literature and the second one is pure literature. What does the applied literature means? Here we have a table to distinguish between applied literature and pure literature. Applied literature gives both pleasure and knowledge of things. It gives us facts that are composed in an attractive manner. It gives us information which is important than expression, while it also gives logical piece of writings, and it includes logical piece of writings like Science or Material Existence, like Origin of Species by Darwin. It is a you can say that it is a part of applied literature, as the given lines which I have just discussed are a part of applied literature. And if I talk about pure literature, what does the word pure literature means? The literature that gives us aesthetic pleasure, that gives us sense of peace and accomplishment. The literature that exists in author's mind and set personal goals based on the experience of that writer or that author or poet. Pure literature includes, it focuses on the expression, like expression is more important, while in applied literature the information was more important. It includes fictional and non-fictional writings like poetry, prose, drama, and novel, while applied literature includes the piece of writings that have logical data. While if I talk about the example of pure literature, I have a very decent example of pure literature, that is Ode to Grecian Urn by John Keats, a romantic poet. He discusses the aesthetic sense which was presented on an urn. Uh, and here the lecture ends. If you have any question, you may ask in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching this video. And if you want good notes making regarding English literature, stay tuned with this channel and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.